What's going on, guys? Dare here with Fantasy Football Advice, coming at you with another fantasy football video. You read the title, you know what we're talking about today, and we're going to be running through some risky players. We're going to be talking about a handful of them, talk about their risk factors, also the potential upside they could add to our teams, and we're going to come to a determination together to see if they will make good draft day targets for us as we head into the 2019 season. Before we do, I think it is very important that we discuss what exactly is going to be contributing to risk. The first and most important, I believe, is going to be the price tag, right? How can you really be a risky pick if the investment it's going to cost to get you is a double-digit round, 12th, 13th, 14th round pick? It's just not that risky of an investment. Now, if we're talking the earlier stages of the draft, the risk really needs to be outweighed by the reward, or else it's just a terrible pick altogether. Some other contributing factors are going to be health. Is this player returning from an injury? Has this player shown an inability to stay healthy, at least leading up to this season? And also depth chart concerns. Is there a player that they need to supersede in order to see a max production, or is there a player that's really breathing down their neck and going to be fighting them for touches as we head through the season? So since we've established what common factors contribute to risk, let's take a look at our first player, and this one's a really polarizing player. That's Derrick Henry of the Tennessee Titans. When looking at Henry's end of season stats, they're a bit deceiving. Most of his production did come through the final 4 games of the season. Owners that had Henry through that time likely won their leagues. In those 4 games, he ran for 585 yards. He had 7 touchdowns and another reception on top of that for 13 more. And that's just going to show you the upside that Derrick Henry has. Hence, why he's going so early in drafts. How early, in fact? He's going in the 3rd round. In half-point PPR leagues, that's before players like Devonta Freeman, Aaron Jones, Sony Michel. And for wide receivers, he's going before Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs. So safe to say that you're paying for all of the risk. And one thing to factor in is the importance of receptions. Most leagues, they're going to be some sort of PPR format. Derrick Henry is not going to be catching any passes. They still have Dion Lewis, who was challenging him for touches last season. Presumably, that's not going to be a factor this season, but why are we all of a sudden trusting the Tennessee Titans to do the right thing? They haven't for many, many years. And with the importance of hitting on early picks and so many great options around Derrick Henry, I think at this stage, I won't have any shares of him. He's too risky. The upside, yes, it's there, but the risk versus the upside doesn't make it a formula for me to feel comfortable taking him, at least at this stage in the offseason. Let's move over to a wide receiver, and we're going to be talking about this guy a lot. We're going to be fielding a lot of questions for him. That's Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And anywhere you look, it's going to be hard to avoid the Chris Godwin hype. And for good reason, though. He's an electrifying talent. He's got the size. 6'1", 209 pounds. He's got the speed. He runs a 4.4, 240. And he's basically a player profiler dream. Let me go ahead and take a look at the numbers here. We have an 89th percentile speed score, 74th percentile agility score, 79th percentile catch radius to go along with a 95th percentile spark score. So with physical tools like that, one has to ask themselves, why has he had inconsistencies in previous seasons? Or at least, why hasn't he been able to separate himself as the clear number 2 target and have consistent game-over-game production? I mean, we've had Deshaun Jackson, who filled that number 2 role for some time, and then Adam Humphries, who seemed like Chris Godwin and Adam Humphries were going game over game to see, who is going to be the most valuable fantasy asset. Clearly, the more consistent guy was Adam Humphries. If you went for upside, you want Chris Godwin. But how is that going to change heading into this season? Well, Adam Humphries is gone. Bruce Arians is in. If there's one thing to know about Bruce Arians, he will get his production from the wide receivers, and he's always been able to get solid production from his quarterbacks as well. Jameis Winston probably has to be one of the most talented, at least from a physical standpoint, at quarterback he's had in quite some time. So I think this is a match made in heaven. Some other factors that are pointing to a positive outlook for Chris Godwin are going to be his improvement in each of the first 2 seasons. He's improved in almost any individual category. He's had success regardless of who the quarterback was, whether it's Ryan Fitzpatrick or whether it was Jameis Winston, and his overall health. He has never missed a game. Did I mention that he's coming into that 3rd year? That 3rd year where wide receivers tend to break out at a much higher rate. Now, don't get me wrong, he's very pricey. The wide receivers going around him, Kenny Golladay, Jarvis Landry, and Tyler Lockett. Some running backs going around him are Darius Guys, Kenyon Drake, and Tariq Cohen. So he's not going to be cheap. But if you're asking me, as it stands today, remember this is late May. May 21st at the time of recording. I would take him over Jarvis Landry, and I would take him over Tyler Lockett all day. Now, things change. You'll have to see where we stand as we head closer to the start of the season. I know this is the type of player where people will continue to promote him, which may price us out, but as it stands right now, the risks are outweighed by the reward, and I would like to take Chris Godwin. All right, the next player is a running back, but I'm not going to talk too much on him because Nick actually included him in yesterday's video, but I just wanted to reiterate on this player. It's Darius Slay, and a lot of you may be thinking, you guys must be really high on Slay because he was a 3rd round pick last year, and you guys thought he was one of the best picks in the draft. Now you're getting a 2-round discount on him because he has an ACL injury, a simple ACL injury, which players are recovering from better now than they ever have in the past. And so that's why I think it's important that we touch on him. Truth is, it's harder to find a riskier pick than Slay. Yes, he's going in the 5th round. That's not cheap, but this team has so many question marks on the offensive side of the ball. First thing, who are the quarterbacks? We got Colt McCoy, Case Keenum, or the rookie now, Dwayne Haskins. They still don't have any wide receivers. At least last season, we had hope for Josh Doxson taking a step up. We've always been high on Jamison Crowder. And remember, Alex Smith, he's never been great, but he was coming off an MVP caliber season. Guys himself, he's coming off of an injury, and I don't know about the doctors over in Washington, but both Alex Smith and Darius Slay have not had such a smooth recovery process. I'm not really saying anything about any specific doctors over there, but it is interesting that 2 fairly simple injuries, compared to what other players around the league experience, they're having a lot of complications. So we do have to take that into consideration. But the main and most important concern is the depth chart. Adrian Peterson has been re-signed, and I know a lot of people aren't giving him as much credit as he deserves. Yes, he's unproductive at times last season, and yes, he's old, but you have to understand that at the time Peterson was given the majority of his touches, the offensive line had been the most injured out of any offensive line in the entire league. When Peterson was given the right circumstances, the game was not out of hand, the line was not as banged up. He performed quite spectacularly. He did get the job done, and people aren't giving him enough credit for that. So if we're talking about risk versus reward, at this time, Darius Slay doesn't seem to make the cut, but who knows, things change. If he can show us he's extremely healthy, or who knows, Adrian Peterson gets injured in camp, that's going to completely change everything. So stay tuned for that. But as for now, Darius Slay not really on our list based on the risk factors. The next player on this list is a guy I will certainly have plenty of shares of, and that is a wide receiver out of Los Angeles. That's Kupp of the Rams, and he is undeniably talented. Let's put it this way. If he had finished playing 16 games last season, he would easily be the first drafted of all Rams wide receivers. Right now, he is being drafted at the end of the 4th after Robert Woods and Brandon Cooks. Unfortunately, last season he did only play in 8 games, and we're not getting a massive discount on him. And my main concern is that as we see coming into training camp and we see him healthy, his ADP is going to rise, but we can't ignore what he was able to put together in those 8 games. Kupp himself was on pace for over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns, and that's just incredible numbers. He's also heading into that 3rd year for wide receivers, which has that increased breakout percentage chance. Woods, Golladay, Watkins, Ridley, those are going to be the names that you're going to be deciding between when considering Kupp. And no, you don't want 2 wide receivers on the Rams on the same team, but you can't fault anyone for picking Woods and playing it safe. My choice will always be for upside, so I'm going Kupp in that choice. But when healthy, when on the field, he hasn't shown us a reason not to trust him. Plus, none of the secondaries that the Rams faced in 2019 really scare me from a shutdown perspective, so I guess where I'm standing with him is let's take the injury discount. Now, if his ADP climbs, with seeing him on the field, his ADP may be a bit too high for me, but as it stands today, the reward outweighs the risk, and I will take that gamble 10 out of 10 times. This final player, I'm really interested to get the input from you guys in the comment section, more than just giving my own opinion, and that's Nick Chubb of the Cleveland Browns. A sensational talent on the ground, definitely nobody can argue that. He finished averaging over 5 yards per carry. He also showed promise in the passing game, totaling 20 receptions to go along with 10 total touchdowns, 2 of which were receiving touchdowns. So Chubb, he's a complete beast, and if this backfield was to himself, he would be a first-round pick, no doubt. The only issue, and the main issue, is that there is a chance he is only startable in 8 games. As we know, the Cleveland Browns signed Kareem Hunt, serving an 8-game suspension, and nobody really knows what's going to happen upon his return. So what sort of discount are we getting for him on draft day? We're getting about a round. Right now, anyone who wants to take Chubb is going to have to pay a second round price tag for a potential short-term rental. The only situation I can remember in recent years where we saw a similar situation was the year that Zeke was suspended. And his replacements, those guys were still being drafted in the double-digit rounds. Now, unlike the Zeke situation, there is a chance that Chubb could be playing so well that his workload really isn't impacted too much, but this is all just speculation at this point. Remember, NFL teams don't care about your fantasy leagues. They want to win. They want to keep players healthy for the postseason. So limiting workloads for these players is likely the best bet on long-term health. I could see a situation where when Hunt does return, he immediately lightens the workload for Chubb if he is banged up. So your only option is trading Chubb after about 3 to 4 weeks. And his trade value isn't going to be very high unless he's playing lights out football. And if he was, would you have the balls to really trade him at that point? The closer you are to the 8 weeks, the less likely you are to get value in return for him. And as it stands today, his price tag is second round, right behind Dalvin Cook. So I want to know what you guys think on him. It's the type of pick that could really screw you. It's the type of pick that could also be a league winner. Where do you guys feel comfortable taking Nick Chubb? Right now, I think that the second round where he's going is a little bit too pricey, but I do know that there is a sweet spot for me to where I think that the value is definitely okay for the amount of risk that you have to assume. Where is that for you guys? So let us know in the comment section, and we'll be talking a lot more about Nick Chubb in future videos. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for today's video. We really hope you enjoyed. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. We thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.